we're back in the room, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, the Wacky Welshman, once again. Before I introduce you to today's very special guest, allow me to tell you that today's podcast is sponsored by The Art of Amy. That's A-I-M-I-E, The Art of Amy. Find her on Facebook. And today we are giving away in a competition on the Caiman Show, to go with the theme, this beautiful pencil portrait of the Ultimate Warrior. I'll show you it properly at the end, all right? I've only just got it straight. But meanwhile, back in the room, allow me to introduce to you today's very special guest. Joining me, he is a friend of a friend, introduced to me by my good friend, Leighton Baller. A good friend of the Warrior, aka the Ultimate Warrior, for around the last 10 years, correct me if I'm wrong. Instrumental in the recent reconciliation with the WWE and the Warrior, which also resulted in the Warrior being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Worked with other stars such as Sergeant Slaughter, the Poffo family, and more recently, the Honky Tonk Man. Give it up for your friend, now mine as well, Stephen Wilton. Welcome to the Caiman Show. It is a pleasure to have you on board, sir.
I'm glad to be here. I've been reliving my childhood through your video cast. Be cool.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, I've got a nice touch of nostalgia going on at the moment. It was never meant to be that way, but I just kind of fell into the nostalgic, not trap, because I'm thoroughly enjoying it, to be honest with you. Just the nostalgic bubble, if you will, you know. But that's not all that it's about, and we're going to get to the nitty-gritty in a bit. How have you been anyway, man? Obviously, it's been unsettling times over the last year and whatever. Have you been keeping busy?
Yeah, it's been more. My problem is I like traveling and going, around the States and seeing my friends and stuff. So it's been you're kind of dealing with yourself in your own company, which is the worst part, isn't it? I think, because you drive yourself crazy. But yeah, I've been doing fine, man. I've just been keeping busy, keeping active, keeping in touch with people and trying to keep busy and finding new shows like yourself to watch and trying to keep.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you for watching, first of all. And secondly, thank you for coming on to have a chat with me. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And a friend of Leighton's is a friend of mine, all right? So we're tight. So obviously, we talked a little in the introduction there about you working with Warrior, various other stars as well. How's that happen? Just talk me through, first of all, if you would, your journey into this game. How, where, when, and why did you get involved in this wacky world? Tell me a story.
I think the same with most people. I kind of fell into it, but it was my dream to do so. I kind of, WWE was like my thing. I loved it, absolutely obsessed with it as a kid. Grew up through the Attitude Era with WCW, and most of my heroes moved across. And I got into web design and IT and business management and stuff like that. And I met Honky and said, like, why don't you have your website anymore? Because he used to have a really edgy website where he'd do like crazy stuff. And he was like the king of the shoot, started it all off.
I remember it. Yeah, didn't he have a hotline as well? Honky's hotline at one point?
Yeah, but that was one of the first things that we did. So he started off doing like the shooting interviews and stuff like that, and then he kind of didn't want to do it anymore because it then became sort of mainstream. Everybody did it.
Yeah.
So I said to him, well, can I do your website for you because you don't have a web presence now? And he was like, yeah, sure. And we just became really close friends. Like, he's just the most incredible guy, just real, a bit like Warrior, completely mischaracterized. And he's like, if I had to pick a drinking buddy, it'd be Honky Tonk Man every single day of the week.
Awesome stuff.
Wonderful guy. So yeah, I started doing his website, and then we started doing some sort of licensing stuff. And then I was like, what can we do now? And I think I was like 23, 24. Yeah. So, up all night long. So burning the midnight oil. So I said to him, like, podcast. And then we did a podcast called Shake, Rattle and Roll, which was, we had our 10-year anniversary. It would have been a couple of months ago. So it was me and Honky, and we had like guests from WWE, friends of his. We just had a blast doing it. And at the time, it was, I think, the only kind of podcast outside of the news sites, because I know like PW Torch and that have been going for years. It was me and Honky and Brett and a chap called Josh Groberman had a show. So we did a bit of collaboration with that and a bit of cross promotion. And we just had a blast. We had the best time ever. We were always like, rag on Hulk and TNA, and but it's all done in good fun, And I was always very vocal on my support Warrior. I loved Warrior to death since I was a kid. He was my hero.
Same, man, same. Brilliant. Legend.
Yeah. Him and Randy were like my number one. And I'd done, whilst I was working with Honky, I did like Sarge's website, Sergeant Slaughter, and did Hacksaws and did some work with Lanny. I launched machomadness.net, which is going to be the new Macho Man page. But then he didn't want it. He decided he was not in the best place with wrestling, didn't want anything to do with it. And then I kind of carried on with Shake, Rattle, and Roll, and went to Wrestlemania and stuff like that, and met Honky. And Warrior had tuned in or read a tagline where Honky talked about him, and he got in touch and said, I didn't believe it was him. And then he said, what's your number?
Drop you an email, did he? Or
he sent me an email. Yeah, it was Steve at honkytonkman.net was my really cool email at the time, which I was like so chuffed with. And he just called me, and it was just crazy, like to hear that voice over the phone. It was like, oh my God. And I was very intimidated.
I bet.
Very bellowing and very commanding presence. And it just took off from there. He said to me, look, I really like your stuff. I like what you're doing. Seeing you and Honky pop up all over the place. I want to do some stuff. I don't like the people I'm with at the moment. Are you interested? And I was like, oh my God.
That's absolutely incredible. Did it sound like the Warrior talking to you on the phone, the voice on the phone? Did it sound like him? Or?
Absolutely. He'd ring you up and like, Steve, are you awake? Like every single time. Are you sleeping? Like, he was fantastic. Like, if he rang, you picked up the phone, because he was like me. He'd like stay up all night, work all day, didn't sleep much. And we just did his most important thing. He wanted to launch One Warrior Nation, which was the first thing we did for Ultimate Warrior. Completely revamped it from the wrestling stuff. And he wanted to go into like the motivational speaking and his art. And we had loads of cool ideas. We wanted to do podcasts and have an art gallery, and it was just an incredible start to friendship we had. And he was pretty estranged from my father at the time, so he became a really like best friend / father figure to me, and he was very instrumental in my life and kind of me finding my way, because I was like young and broke and just doing jobs whatever came around, and trying to pay the rent, and he was like kicking my ass every day, like, come on, you can do better than this. And then
pull yourself up, sort of thing,
he was incredible, and it just all started from there.
Awesome stuff. That's amazing. So what was your first impressions then, once you started to get to know him? So what was your first impressions of him as the human being?
Just what a nice person he was, in terms of he was so interested in getting to know you and what made you tick and what makes you great, as he'd say, and what's your passion. He was like, I get you want to work for me, but many people want to work for me. Like, what makes you different? What's your passion? And I talked about his mischaracterization and the bad, because people were just trashing on him all the time, and it wasn't balanced. And I think he really wanted a friend and someone he could trust, and then we just built ourselves from there. And it just, it's such a wild ride. Like, I remember the first time that I met him in person, and it was really cool and really civil. But the first time he had the face paint on, I just couldn't contain myself. I was shaking like a leaf, and he was like, what the F is wrong with you? And I was like, you're you. I'm like stood in the lift, or elevator as they call it over there, with the Ultimate Warrior, and he just loved it. He was like, oh my God, like, I've seen you like 5 times and you talk every day and you're still freaking out like a mark. It was just it was lovely.
That's amazing. What a cool story, man. The Ultimate Warrior, you're in the lift with the Ultimate Warrior, or an elevator, correct me, for our American friends. An elevator with the Ultimate Warrior, covered in his face paint and everything. That's just incredible, man. You must have been shaking like the proverbial shitting dog.
You just don't know what the thing is. He became Ultimate Warrior when the face paint went on. It was different with Honky, because we like grab a drink in the bar and get the cab to like the Comic-Con and chill out and meet people and hang out in the green room. But Warrior was he had this amazing mystique about him, and like I always called him Sir, so I'd say, oh, Mr. Warrior, sir, the cab's here, and he was like, I'm putting my face on. It's like, and we'd be late, So I'm like banging on the door, freaking out. I've got the promoter going crazy. He thinks we're going to be late, but it's all part of the show, you know. And it was just incredible, like to see him come out with the face paint on, with his, and he came dressed as Warrior. Like he had the shorts and the duster, and you know, ridiculously ripped. And it was kind of sweet to me. I never forget the moment actually when I had that kind of like crush moment of my hero, because it really hit me what I was doing and who I was with, because I close to the man, you know, more so than obviously the, you know, Ultimate Warrior is the character he portrayed. And when I saw him as him, and he saw my reaction from that, it was like a kid at Christmas, and he was just, he got a lot from it, you know, which is very sweet. And yeah, we just had a great time, just an incredible friendship like that. And it's like, but he was unlike anybody else, you know. So he cared so much about that the appearance was done right, and the fans were lined up correctly, and they were taken care of, and that people had time when they met him. He always wanted to do it kind of like you're coming around the corner, like you meet Santa. Like he didn't want everyone in the line staring at him, so we always had it set up so he had a podium so he could stand. He never wanted to sit and sign, because some people sign pictures and just pass them and then you move along, and kind of cool. But he wanted to like ask people where they're from and see their stuff, and want to know, you know, what they did and how long they've been fans of his. And he checked they were happy with the photograph, and checked they were happy with the signature. And if they weren't, I'd take another picture, and he'd send something else. And he cared so much about their experience, which is unlike anybody I've ever been seen done, even as a fan to visit to get stuff signed myself. You know, he was incredible. And we'd be there till, I mean, one of the shows we did in New Jersey, we were there till about midnight, and I think the promoter was probably going crazy. But he wouldn't leave until everybody had been seen and everyone was happy, and it was just incredible. It was just such a wonderful, nice time.
Fair play. That's pretty much unheard of, you know, with certain other people anyway. You know, staying there till like midnight, is giving everyone a personal experience basically, and rather than just each person turning up being a number, they're all going away with a personal moment to remember. You know, so that goes a hell of a long way. Yeah,
and it was also it's also something that's really mischaracterized and something never really discussed, and it always bothered me because people think, oh, he did everything for the money, and it's rubbish, it's nonsense, all of it. Like he really cared about his fans, and he was happy if they were happy, and they came to see him, and he always said to people all the time, I'm really here because of you, like thank you for the life I have. And it was such a nice experience. And I think any casual fan that came just to see him, who wasn't necessarily like, you know, super researched on him, left with a different impression. But it was really important for him.
Good. So why do you think, obviously, it does my head in as well, or because all you hear is bad vibes, bad things and everything. Why do you think people are throwing the hatchet in all the time, or have been? Well, often still are. I mean, I recently watched Dark Side of the Ring. I'm sure you have as well, that episode. You know, give the man a break. Look at some of the good he's done as well. You know, so what do you think the deal is? Why and where do you think this come from?
You have to remember though, when someone dies, you can't defame a dead person because they can't sue you, so you can say what you like, and most of it's trash, but it's clickbait. So if you look at how everything's based now with the ad revenue and click this, click that, it's all sensationalized. It's like when you leave a bad review for a restaurant, you won't often leave a good one.
No, that's right.
But you'll go straight on and say it was bad. And I think Honky said it best, because Warrior loved Honky and Honky loved him, and it was like they're entertainers, not wrestlers. So I think there's always that old school that clashed with the wrestling, like, you know, Ric Flair having the 5-star matches when everyone knows it's the same match every night. And you know, and I love Ric Flair, but it's like there's those two schools of people. Like WWF was entertainment more so than this is real. And I think what came in and people had a problem with that. But I think what bothers me when people like Jim Ross come across on TV, and the thing is, what I find quite sad for people that were great in what they did in their time, like he's one of the greatest commentators of all time, but he comes across just so bitter and negative and sad, not even interested in what he's saying, because of the look on his face. He's thinking like, well, why are you talking at all? But I think that comes from past experience, because I know also the Warrior took no crap from people. You don't deal with the top people. So, you know, from my understanding, when Warrior went back in '96, he'd only speak with Vince or Linda. He wasn't interested in anyone else under him. Very much similar experience when he came back when I was with him. Obviously, I can't talk for him or for his past,
of course,
but that wasn't the Warrior I worked with or I knew. And I think that they do most of it for sensationalism and clickbait. It's like the stuff you read about Michael Jackson. People say it's because it gets a headline and it keeps them interested. And they've got nothing else good going on, you know. But I find it sad. I find it really sad because I think, you know, that person's got a family, they've got children, like at least have balanced thing. I mean, the problem with things like Dark Side is they don't have balanced. There's no, like, you can have, everyone's entitled to their opinion, they've all had their own experience. So, you know, Jim Ross had a really bad experience with Warrior, and that's his right to tell his story in that way. But there should also be counterbalance and have someone on the other side saying their opinion and what it was like with them. So people leave with a more balanced reflection. But it's not, it's all designed, as it is in the title. It's
what it says on the tin.
But I like their stuff. I like their shows. Some of them have been great. You know, some I have a hard time reviewing because I'm biased, and I get angry seeing some stuff because I think that's categorically not true.
Yeah.
But you know, I just think when people come across bitter and sad, it's just sad for them. I just think, well, you know, people, you have your own fans in your own right. People look up to you, and you come across as a bit pathetic. And I think that people see that, and it shows.
There's a lot of it about, there's a lot of it about. What the trouble is as well, Steve, I think there's a lot of new fans as well who are tuning into things like Dark Side of the Ring. And they won't know Warrior from the past. You know, they probably never even seen or heard of him in the past, you know. And they're seeing they're getting this as their first impression. What would you say to those people who are seeing this one-sided, biased hatchet job, basically?
Watch everything. Watch the Always Believe DVD. Read the book, because there's an argument too for lionizing people, going too far the other way. So I get the argument for that too. But I'm like, you know, watch his meet and greets on YouTube, listen to his interviews, watch his other documentaries, just get more of a balanced opinion of him. But it's you know, but again, people have to be responsible for their own actions. And I know he did and said stuff that in today's culture wouldn't be appropriate. And again, I think some of that gets mischaracterized and taken out of context. And it's about people evolving, you know, like he was at that time with, you know, some of that stuff that they kept highlighting. He was so extremely hurt, you know, they'd demolished his career in this DVD, trashed him. And for no, really, there was really no need for it.
That was pathetic, yeah, in my opinion.
Like when I met Warrior, I couldn't even mention WWE. It wasn't allowed to be said. You know, I couldn't. He knew I was a fan, he respected it, but he wouldn't discuss it. Wasn't interested. You know, and that changed over time. I was giving him positive affirmations every time I read a magazine article, and there was a good comment or something like that. You know. But it took a long time to kind of heal that part where he'd even be willing to talk to them.
Perfect. So with regard to the DVD, we won't dwell too much on that, right? Because I think the less said about it, really, the better. A lot of people involved in it, or people who've popped up on it, have seemed, you know, post-reconciliation, to me at least, a little bit hypocritical. You know, where they're all, everything's cool now, everything's fine now, let's forget about that DVD however many years ago. Thoughts on that? I
think there's a fine line between love and hate, isn't there? I think you can have a very close relationship with someone. Say you know, got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and you're in love with them, and something can happen, you break up, and they're the biggest bitch under the sun, you know. And I think that you're not always the victim. I think people do stuff that hurt people, and some people that have power and control can do stuff that isn't appropriate. And I think that there was just a fine line between love and hate. And I think it was, you know, when we went back and started talking to them, that was obviously a big piece of the puzzle. Like, why would I come back after everything you've said? And they kind of said it was a story about, you know, you took Ultimate Warrior away. It wasn't about you as a person. So it was just sort of going through all that stuff. And and talking it through and burying old hatchets and stuff like that. I mean, we worked on that deal for probably 2 years, and I had to work with their legal team to get him and Vince together, because I knew that we always got to the point of signing it. I was like, we're so close. But I was also like dragging it out because I wanted 30. It's really important to have 30. I was like, don't go 29, you know?
Yeah, maybe a 30.
Go 30, go for 30. So we kind of talked, and it was just, it seemed never ending, but for me, it was just the most incredible learning curve and experience to understand how they worked, and sort of alleviating his concerns and working through that kind of stuff. And the most important thing for him was telling the story the right way, but he wanted it nuts and bolts, all the grit, everything. He didn't want anything left out and things like that. But it was, you know, it was hard work, you know, and we all put in the work and got it done. But we got to the point where it was like, he needs to see Vince. So, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that we got to the point where I told Warrior that Vince wanted to see him, and they told Vince that Warrior wanted to see him. They kind of met up together, and he had the most wonderful time, you know, like Vince had videos of him on his phone, and he was showing him, and it wasn't this great, wasn't this cool, and they're both into fitness. I remember Warrior got out of the car to meet WWE, and he was met by Mark Carano, who was the talent relations guy now, but he wasn't then. I think he was like a couple of rungs below, and he met Warrior with all these GNC bodybuilding, muscle and fitness, health products, like a big old gift bag, and Vince's car and security and stuff to sort of take him to meet Vince. And Warrior was like, "Oh, just draw it on a napkin. I'll find my way there," you know. It's things like that that really, you know, as soon as they talked, and obviously Triple H was a huge part of it, because I think he understood more than anyone else, because he'd been an active performer, what people go through, the bads and the highs and the lows and the stress on the road. And he's seen many people, you know, pardon the pun, self-destruct, and he's helping many people. So he really understood how he felt. He didn't necessarily agree with him, but he understood him, and that was important. And they built a really good friendship from that point. So he was hugely instrumental in that. But it was actually, and people don't know the story, but it was actually Johnny Ace that started it all, because I gave WWE one of Randy's WrestleMania 10 outfit for the Hall of Fame, because it was just in a box under my bed, and I was really sad when he died.
Randy Savage, yeah?
Yeah, Randy Savage, sorry, yeah. So I was really bothered when he died. It really hurt me, because he's like one of my heroes, and I was like, oh, no, I want them to have it so people can see it and celebrate him. And they gave me tickets to WrestleMania, and I went over there and met Johnny, and he said, oh, he's really funny, because he said, are you outside the hotel? And I was like, no, why would I be outside the hotel? And then I realized when I got there that like thousands of fans just descend there and wait. And I went in, and he sort of took me in his office, and he was like, oh, you know, you've got to be quiet because Vince's office next door. And we
no pressure.
Yeah. And it was really cool, but his office was just like the SmackDown versus Raw, you know, the 2K video games. It was crazy, exactly the same. We just had drinks, talked and stuff, and he knew that I worked with Honky in that. And he said, who else do you work for? And I said, Warrior. And I said to him, why is he not here? Like, what's the, you know, just trying to get an angle. And he said, oh, he doesn't want to be. And I said, well, I don't think that's true. And then it kind of started from there. So
had you and Warrior spoke about this before that, or was this the first seed?
No, we had talked about it. He was open to the idea, because they had got in contact with us with the Legends deal. They wanted to do merchandise. I think one of the merchandise partners really wanted to do him. He was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not signing, you know, a Legends deal just to do merchandise. It's got to mean something. And he instantly get offended, but it wasn't intentional, because the people that were asking didn't know. Yeah. So we didn't do that. And then I went to, it was quite funny with Johnny actually, because he kept saying to me, oh, meet up with me, I'll give you tickets and we'll have a drink. And, you know, I just completely forget how busy someone is. And I'm just chilling in Miami, minding my business, you know, and Warrior emailed him, like, don't mess him around, you know what I mean? Like, he's come all this way to do a really good thing for you. If you're going to meet him, like, meet him. And then he was like, oh no, I am going to meet him. I'm just really busy. Sorry, you know. So I then met up with him, and, you know, we had a really good time.
Awesome stuff. That's amazing. So from there, what was next? So you met firstly with John Laurinaitis.
Mm-hmm.
From there, was the meeting with Vince arranged next, or were there some steps in between?
No, there was a gap. There was a massive gap of a long time. So we went back to business and got on with our own stuff. We said we weren't interested in the t-shirt stuff, and kind of carried on. And then Triple H emailed me and asked for Warriors contact information. Said, "Can we have a call?" So I called him up, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's Triple H!" You know what I mean? And I always will be. I love him. He's fantastic. And he was like, "Do you think he's really interested? Like, do you think this is something we can do? And how's he feeling? How is he?" You know, like, he was just so lovely. And they connected and had a call. I think a very frank conversation. Warrior had a really good life, didn't need it. I was very adamant, I don't need that in my life anymore. But he just started to soften slowly. And then, you know, he had a couple of meetings with Triple H, and then there was a long gap. And we're like, you know, well, obviously they're not very interested then, you know, but they were just trying to figure out the best way and the best time to do it. So he was hugely instrumental in having that all figured out. And then we were in discussions with him about what kind of deal it would be, because Warrior didn't want to be like he didn't want to be like Hulk, you know, he just appear and go again. He wanted it to be he said, if it's not meaningful, I don't want to do it. And they were like, "No, we'd really love to have you as an ambassador." I don't think they really had ambassadors in the same way at the time. And he was interested in like doing the speaking events and appearances for them. And he really wanted to kind of put Ultimate Warrior to bed in a kind of iconic way, and then move into Warrior, because that's really where his passion was, you know, and he just wanted to be himself. And then we did the negotiations for the video game, where he appeared as a sort of bonus downloadable character. And then he went and did the commercial for that. Vince did the tweet, like, "Welcome home." And it was all like these tiny things that made a massive difference. They really did. And then he went up to Titan Tower to meet Triple H and meet with Vince. In a wonderful time. Obviously, it must have felt some way going home, because it's the same office. And he was telling me how cool everything was, all the gadgets and stuff. And he saw people he hadn't seen like a long time, like Howard Finkel, who was like the WWE.com stuff. And he was like, "Oh, you'll work great with Steve." And I already knew Howard because he's close friends with Honky. So it was all just really positive, you know, and it all just built from there. And, you know, we did I think it was 18 months from that point, we signed the deal and it was done. But even on the last day, he pulled a prank on us all, because he was like, "There's one more thing." And Triple H was like, "Oh, for God's sake, like, we've got the bit ready, we've got everything done." But it wasn't like the main focus, because we were doing the Warrior show, we were looking at books, we were looking at different kinds of stuff to doing. And they were always very amicable with each other. Like, if it doesn't work out, we're shake hands and walk away, but no, we're in a better place. Like, he knew he wasn't going to be an active performer. So, you know, he always said if there was going to be one match, that would be a street fight with Vince. But other than that, he wasn't interested in doing any of that stuff. And yeah, they were just so amicable and built a really good friendship. It was just really nice. And I know Triple H gets a lot of flack and Johnny gets a lot of flack, but they really did make a massive, if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't have happened.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome to hear that side as well. By the way, I would have paid big money to see a street fight between Warrior and Vince. I think a lot of people would have. But that's another story. So all the I's were dotted, all the T's were crossed then. It's WrestleMania week, Hall of Fame, WrestleMania, Raw. Obviously, you were in attendance yourself as well. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Talk us through that week. Talk us through how it went. So let's start off with, obviously, start at the beginning. Start with the Hall of Fame. Start on that day. How was everyone feeling? Was there any doubts in anyone's mind? Talk us through it.
Well, it was, for me, it was like going to Disney World for the first time, because it was the most perfect weekend. It was just incredible. Like, the energy of it all was amazing. So Warrior didn't stay at the hotel. He had his own apartment that WWE got for him, where he stayed with Dana and the girls. Okay. And he was, when we went into it, I think he was a bit conscious, a bit paranoid if anybody would try and do something or say something and take that edge off it to make it anything less than special. girls are with him. He just wanted it to be magic and nothing else. But so I was fortunate enough to get his suite in the hotel. So I stayed at the hotel, which was just amazing. I hadn't stayed in a WWE hotel before. So, you know, Ric Flair's drinking at the bar, buying you drinks and everything else. Arrived at the hotel and it was just crazy because they picked me up in a limousine Triple H has arranged. The guy with a little name card said Wilton on it, and they picked me up. I came out of the airport and there's WrestleMania signs everywhere. They picked me up in this car. I couldn't quite believe it. And I get to the hotel and I, you know, roll my little suitcase in, and there's Undertaker and Stone Cold at the desk, and I'm like, I have to say excuse me because I can't get through to the desk.
Crazy stuff, man.
It was just wild. I literally got to the hotel and you know, they had like this lovely little welcome pack with the timetable and how everything works. It was just incredible to see like what a well-oiled machine it was. And I think that what bothers me, it really hurts my feelings because people always say, oh, you know, did you know Warrior looked unwell? Why didn't you do something? Or why didn't Dana? Or why didn't WWE? And it's just ridiculous because you couldn't have taken the smile off his face. He was so happy that weekend. I mean, the most important thing for him was his wife and children to see him in his element doing what he did, because the girls would have been too young before, and he really wanted them to see. He used to say, I want you to see what Vince McMahon does, you know, Mr. McMahon even. I want you to see Mr. McMahon does, the show he puts on. So I arrived and like he called me and we're emailing and he's working on his speech and we're going through stuff, and he had like two potential speeches. There was going to be the speech that would have been the different speech, you know, where I think he would have gone a bit more edgy, because I think he felt maybe Vince wanting people to squeak a little bit, you know. Okay. But there was just so much love from everybody, and the more he saw people and the more that he was there, he just shed all of this angst. So all of my initial worries when I get there is keep people away from him, you know, like keep him happy. It just faded and he was just having a blast. I mean, I've never seen him smile so much. So, you know, I went to Hall of Fame and they picked me up. I went back there and I got on the bus, like with all the crew, you know, I sat behind Jerry Lawler and I was just like, oh my God, you know, and it was amazing.
Out of this world.
Yeah, it was like, it was so nice for me too, because I made friends with Peter Pallis from Annika. He's in a rock band, incredible guy, massive Warrior fan. Like what he doesn't know a Warrior, no one knows. And Warrior had said to me, or you know, get my close friends tickets so they can come to Hall of Fame because there's a friends and family event. You can have as many as you wanted. So you know, I got some tickets for him, and I met his brother and his band, and it was like a big family reunion of the Warrior. So all of us that are fighting all these years come together, and it was really special for me to see him and his brother and his friends, because we'd sort of met up before when we were doing signings and stuff like that. But it was just to see everything come full circle was incredible. And I had some Kenny McIntosh from Inside the Ropes. Like we were pals, so he came along with some of his friends, and it was just lovely. You know what I mean? It was just we were in Warriors box at WrestleMania 30. We were up there in the owner's skybox. Well, I nearly died actually because they said to turn all the lights off, and we had all these food and burgers and stuff. And I walked down the steps, and I walked like Bambi on ice, you know. So I was just flying down, and Pete grabbed me. And if he hadn't grabbed me, no joke, I would have flew off the balcony and died.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was crazy, but it was lovely. You know what I mean? It was just incredible. We just had an amazing time. And I went backstage Hall of Fame and met Warrior, gave him a hug, and he was like, "Come here, kid," you know, give me a big squeeze. But yeah, he was just like smiling from ear to ear.
Brilliant stuff. So that was the Hall of Fame ceremony. Obviously, you went to Mania as well, I take it, yeah? Yeah. How was that for you? And how was that for him as well?
Busy. So we planned to watch WrestleMania from the skybox, and then he was going to go down and do the thing to the fans and wave to everybody. And it didn't happen because there were so many people that kept going up to him and saying, "Oh, you know, like Batista and their names forget me now, but they were like all of them were there. You know what I mean? And he didn't get left alone. for 5 seconds. Like they were just like so happy with this video game. He really inspired my career. And for them to say that to him after everything and what he'd seen on the DVD and people had written about him, to have the new generation come up to him and saying like, you know, what you do is kick ass. I love your YouTube stuff. You inspired me. It's so good to have you back home. You know, it was just amazing. And it was a very healing moment, I think. And I had a really cool moment. Me and Pete were outside his dressing room at Hall of Fame, and Warrior walked by to take the photograph, and then he obviously met Vince, Triple H, and the rest of the crew. And then Hogan came by like, "Hey, brother," you know, with his red and yellow trainers on, with his sunglasses on, and he was like, "What's up, guys?" You know, I was thinking, "Oh my God, it's going to be blood." But they managed to sort of avoid each other at that point. But Wrestlemania was just another level. It was just incredible to see his friends and family enjoy it, you know, and all the yanks from Hall of Fame had gone because he'd done the speech, so we were just enjoying ourselves. But he, bless him, didn't have 5 minutes to enjoy anything because everyone was just like, hey, all the time, you know. It was just I was just keeping myself busy running around getting stuff for him. You know, it was just amazing, man. And it was the first time as well I'd seen Hogan live and Stone Cold live, you know, coming down in person. So even as a wrestling fan, I'm sat at this box watching this stuff, eating food, you know, I'm like, wow, this is just something else. This is incredible. And it was just like the history of it, to have Austin, Rock, and Hogan and Warrior there. It was just like, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? That's like pretty much you've almost made my Mount Rushmore there, you know? It's great stuff.
Yeah. But you have to do your job too. So I have to look after Warrior's mother, who's just a sweetheart of a lady. So I look after her Hall of Fame. I'm sat next to her Hall of Fame. Yeah, I'm sort of making sure she's okay. She was a sweet lady. She was telling me really sweet stories of him as a kid, and go out and pick mushrooms and, you know, stuff. And I don't think she'd seen him for a while, and it was important to him that she came. So, you know, I had to make sure that she got back to her hotel room and she was taken care of and she'd eaten and everything else. But she was really sweet. And yeah, we all ended up just sort of jamming in the dressing room. And then it was like, you got to go, you got to get your bus, got to get your car. And I mean, I think the only regrets that I have is WWE were too like, oh, you need to go now. You need to go and get in on the bus or you're going to miss the traffic. And I should have just stayed. It's tough.
Yeah,
who cares?
just wanted to chill and absorb the moment.
Yeah, and it's you have to be respectful to their positions too, because like they're talent relation people who are like the versions of me just with Warrior. Like what Warrior says to me goes, so they say to me doesn't go. So I had to work out in a way. So I'm sure some of them thought I was a dick, but I mean I had to keep him. You know, I was there to do my job. I wasn't paid by them. We had a fun incident with 2K. They wanted to scan him to do the video game when we were on Monday Night Raw, and he contacted me, and I was out with Pete, and he said to me, "Oh, can you come to the arena? Come to the arena." So I got on a car, went to the arena, and Warrior was so sweet. Like you'd arrive and all your credentials would be ready, you'd have your passes, all the stuff I'd freak about. I'm going to get thrown out. How do I get in? Just taken care of, you know.
All
just
get ready for you. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, I was like, how do I get in the building? And he was like, just pull up to the car park and walk down the ramp. And I walked in the ramp, and there's a chap there, and he said, can I take your name? Took my name and gave me these passes and stuff. And I was like, wow. And I'm walking around, and Vince McMahon's in one corner, Triple H is there, Steph's over there, you know what I mean? Just thinking like, oh my God. And
surreal.
Yeah, so you know, the problem we had with 2K is that they hadn't renewed his deal. So I was like, I'm not letting you scam me. You haven't renewed my deal, you know. And I think that stemmed from a lawsuit with Jax where they used Ultimate Warrior in his video game. So I had to go there and sort that out and told them that they couldn't scan him until it had been renewed. And yeah, that was fun because I wasn't asked. But we always played good cop, bad cop. So I always said to him, look, don't be the bad guy. Like, that's my job. Just enjoy yourself and smile. There's a problem, I'll come back. Because I think a lot of the stuff he used to do himself, he'd come across the wrong way and people think he's being difficult. But actually, if you think about all these people that have agents or business managers, they handle that stuff for them. And it is business end of the day. So, you know, he did have a clause in his contract. They had to renew it. They hadn't. So he was like, you're not filming me. So it was black and white. So they didn't.
Okay. So what happened from there? So that was a no-go, was it?
Yeah, they didn't film it for the video game. And I think later on, obviously, following events, they weren't very happy with that. But what can you do? You know, you didn't know that was going to happen. But after that, we just hung out backstage, and he was very huggy, very lovey. He kept hugging me, saying like love you, like thanks for everything, and are you having a good time? Are you okay? And I wished I'd seen you more, and I sent Dana back to get you, but you've gone somewhere. And it was just like we're all moving around everywhere. And I was like, not about me, it's not about anyone else, it's about you. Enjoy yourself, you know. And it was just nice just to see him after everything, because the whole bit would be on the phone like 24/7 talking about different scenarios and what should he put in his speech, and even the plan for it. You know, he originally wanted to have like a peel away mask, so he wanted to come out the Hall of Fame as Ultimate Warrior and peel the mask off and then just say I'm Warrior, you know. But then we couldn't do it, so we got the mask and it didn't peel off correctly. I said, you're gonna look a mess, like that won't work. And it was just so incredibly hot, like it was ridiculously humid, it was insane. So, you know, we didn't go for that. And it was just nice to hang out with him backstage and just share stories of how he felt the weekend. And I was trying to get him to eat, because he never eat when he was busy.
Yeah.
And he's always not someone that has catering in, but like me, I'll just grab a burger, a couple of donuts, I'm good to go, you know. But he was like, oh no, I don't want any of that food. And I was like, you know, you need to eat. So I was running around getting food, and it was just, you know, he was so happy that his girls had seen him inducted, and it was the most important thing to him. And the fact that had been done, it was just like, I'm very surprised actually at Raw, because he was like, what are we doing next? And I was like, wait a minute, we're still at Raw. Can we, like, you have to go out and do a speech. And we're having this thing, yeah, but what are we doing next? And we got Comic-Con coming up in a couple of months, you know, what are we doing for that? And, you know, and what is social media saying? And he just totally, what's next? But Raw was crazy, because Rob Schamberger, I'd contacted him via Triple H to do his jackets. So we had 2 jackets painted up and designed, and Warrior face paint, which he used to do all the time. So many times he went to Comic-Cons, he'd ring me and say, oh, Steve, I forgot my brushes. And I'm like, but we have to go in half an hour.
Oh, God.
Who are the brushes? So like, yeah, so I'd have to get in a cab and just like spend hundreds of dollars on a cab fee waiting with the cab outside, going into these like Home Depots and stuff, trying to find the right brushes. That's the wrong brush. So like, so yeah, when he said he forgot his face paint, I was like, oh my God. Like, so yeah, he had to, I think Dana rushed back to the house, or sent someone back to the house to get the coat. And then we talked about the mask, and we couldn't get a mask. The masks were all sold out. It was ridiculous. He had thousands.
Oh, no, nightmare.
Yeah, so we said, you know, we'll put the jacket under the ring and find a mask from somebody. And I didn't want him to wear the mask, and he didn't want WWE to do his face paint. So he said, I'm just going to go with a mask. So I didn't like how it looked on his face. So I think they just found a kid and took 2 off him and gave him like a belt or something, you know, instead of like trade you in. That desperate. There was like no masks anywhere. So we checked all the venues and all the different WWE stores and stores. They had a massive store they had there, like the size of IKEA, but just wrestling stuff, you know.
Yeah.
They didn't have any masks, so yeah, we literally had to find someone that already had like a kid that had a mask, and said, can Warrior have your mask? So we ended up having 2, because then we had 3, and the first one's like snapped off his face. So I was like, this isn't gonna work. And then he had 2 left, which one he obviously wore when he went out there. But yeah, that was so stressful. It was like the last thing that could happen. We didn't know that he was going to get the spot on Raw until after WrestleMania, because he had this plan where he wanted to go on WrestleMania or Raw as Ultimate Warrior, and he wanted this Undertaker thing where he'd be kind of like carried away and gone, and Ultimate Warrior wouldn't be there anymore, and he was just going to do the ambassador as Warrior. And Triple H said, well, no, we've just got you back, we're not letting you do that. So yeah, that was last minute drama, but you know, Dana was very instrumental in getting all that figured out. You know, multitasking, we know what we're doing. Yeah, but, and he coming out on Raw, and I was up front with Dana and the girls. They're very emotional for me. Like, I think if you watch it in the video, I get quite teary, because for me it's just seeing him front row and everything gone through 2 years, and he's finally there, and to hear the fans at Raw go quick, because you don't hear the fans so much at WrestleMania because it's so big, but when you're there at Raw, it's just crazy. It's really emotional, and I was just like, wow, like our whole journey has come to this point. And then I went backstage and gave him a hug, and that was the last time I saw him.
Oh man, So following that was after backstage, Hag, on your way. I guess you went home back to the UK then.
No, I went out on the town in New Orleans with the Inside the Rope guys and Pete and all their crew, and I got absolutely trolleyed, man. I mean, off my face. Just yeah, like that is a party town. Like you want to go away for a good time. Like New Orleans is just something else. It was just you could like buy a beer in one place to take it in the other. They just didn't care. You know?
Wow, my kind of place.
Yeah, it was wild to me. They had like strippers and stuff walking around with like tubes of shots and for $5.
Random.
But I had one of the best nights of my life, and the really sad thing for me is he tried to call me.
Right.
Yeah, when I got back to my hotel, I had a couple of missed calls from him, and he left me a really sweet voicemail and said to me, "I'll speak to you in the morning. Like, good journey. Want to make sure you're okay." But Raw finished pretty late, so I wasn't expecting him to get in touch. After everything gone on.
Yeah.
And it's always sort of haunted me to a degree because would have been my last conversation with him. And then I got up in the morning, barely breathing from my night before. And then I went to the airport and, again, had an amazing time, like chatting to fans and stuff. And I am a fan. We were just talking about the whole event. And we were all having trouble because everyone that got a ringside chair or a program couldn't go through the normal channels. He had to put it through his extra bag. So there's all these fans just kick it off because they paid hundreds of pounds for these tickets and they couldn't take them on the plane unless they paid more money. And then I got I was on the plane and I watched a movie called This Is 40 and it was like really funny. So I thought, well, that's fun. So I had some food. I got off the plane and then people started staring at me and I was like, what are they staring at? Like, am I dressed? You know what I mean? I'm like,
am I naked?
And I turned my phone on and it was ding, 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 constantly, like just fleets of messages and missed calls. And my battery probably died in 5-10 minutes. It was just insane. And I had a text from him and he said, what an incredible weekend. Can't wait to speak to you when you get home. Love you. And that was it. And the next text was like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And I was like, what are you sorry for? And I opened Twitter and I saw Triple H's tweet when he died. And I was just like, I think that moment from waiting to go home, like from having that news, I couldn't contain myself. I didn't know what to do. I was like, just froze. I can't even remember getting home. I literally remember coming apartment door and I shut the door and collapsed and just sobbed uncontrollably because I just couldn't believe it. It really sent me into like a really bad place, and I've like that for a long time. It's only been recently really that I've been kind of good with everything because it's really traumatic, because you went from the highest high to the lowest low in this hours.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, you're up there one minute, all the work you've gone through, all that friendship that you've built and everything. So it's pinnacle. You're at the peak of the mountain, and then all of a sudden, a plane ride later, and to find out that way as well.
Yeah, and it's not just like and it doesn't sound in a selfish way because like I had like Sky Sports and Daily Mirror at the time, whoever it was, contacting me, and it was incessant. I didn't speak to anybody. I never really have until recently. I wasn't comfortable to, but it was. I haven't just lost my hero; I've lost my friend.
Yeah.
So every 1 minute past midnight, every Christmas he'd ring me, Merry Christmas, mother, like every year. So to have that presence in your life gone, that made such a difference to your life in terms of how you live your life. And, it was really hard.
I can only begin to imagine, my man. I can only begin to imagine. It's crazy. But you've got all those memories as well, though, and they never go in anywhere. They're there for life,
Yeah, but I just get bothered by stuff sometimes, like the homophobic stuff, etc. Really bothers me because I'm like proud out, you know what I mean? War is my friend, and he changed my life in terms of getting myself together and sorted, and there was no subject off topic with him. I talk about partners and things like that and heartbreak and all this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And he was just my best friend, and he could have killed anybody that hurt me. You know what I mean? He was like that kind of person. And I know that you can't defend comments when they're said in black and white, but he was very much like a caged bear, and if he was hurt and offended, he will go for the throat. So he'll say the most cutting thing to you, and I'd have arguments with him all the time. Like, you know, we had a fight when we were filming one of the Warrior shows, because I thought the camera crew were coming somewhere else, and they ended up somewhere else, and we're like screaming at each other in the middle of some hotel, and it's like, oh my god, you know. But he would just go for you, you know what I mean? And he was, at the time all these things were said, he was so hurt. It was just like, what can I say that's going to just piss you off? And it was a sense of humor too, and it's not defense or anything, but he had a really dark sense of humor. So I think it's hard to explain, but I know that wasn't his heart, you know what I mean? He was not that kind of person. I just think that sometimes people say unforgivable things in the heat of the moment, and I think, you know, it's easy to say, but I think he would have apologized for his comments. Yeah. I mean, there's no way, if he had those beliefs, he would have loved me and looked after me and worked with me the way he did. You know, it wouldn't have happened.
So flipping it into a positive again now then, right? So going back to positive waters, because, you know, so you say yourself, you've had an amazing journey through all of this. Yeah, it's been fantastic. It's the stuff that dreams are made of. You know, you've had the best job in the world. You've met the best people in the world. You've worked with one of the best, most iconic wrestlers in the world. I'm going to ask you now, in one word, all right, and you're not allowed to use ultimate. In one word, I can use ultimate if you want, but give me two. Define your experience in working with the man, the myth, the legend that was Warrior.
Breathtaking.
Awesome. That's a quality word, my friend. That's a quality word. Any little funny stories or memories before we wrap up that stick in mind that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, I mean, all the time. I mean, I'd wind him up incessantly. So we go for like dinner, stuff like that, and he'd order it's such a health freak. Like, yeah. I'd have a Red Bull, and he was like, "Why are you drinking that?" You know, like all the time. Like, it's like an in joke with each other. And one day, he got this cheesecake, this massive cheesecake, and just ate the whole thing in front of me. Like, this is you being a pig, you know, like, it's how you eat, you know. And that was really, I guess, but it was hilarious. And I'd wind him up on the back of that. He'd be like, "So what are your favorite?" We did the Ultimate Warrior Ultimate Matches DVD, the first one they did.
Yeah.
Massive credit goes to my friend Mike Miller, because he's really good at matches and stuff like that. So he said, "Oh, get the rare ones, get the one with Vader or something like that. If you could find it, you know, get the one." So we went for all this really rare stuff. And Warrior was like, "Yeah, so we need to brainstorm. We've got the DVD, we've got all the promos. So what goes first?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, so that stuff with Papa Shango, that was my favorite. Leave that on there." Just go crazy. That was dog shit, you know, like.
Was it actually your favorite?
No.
So just there to give a little rib tickler, like.
Yeah, so I'd always wind him up and stuff like that all the time. And he used to make fun of my hair, because I had big emo hair at the time, eyeliner, all that stuff. That thought I was in Panic at the Disco, you know. And he'd be like, you know, "Your hair's getting bigger. Look at the state of your hair." And I'm like, "Well, you used to have a perm. You look like a bike." So, like, all the pink and green. And we used to just scream. But he's a very intense person, you know. He just wasn't present. So, you know, if he'd order something, like, he would order an omelette and say, "I want egg white only," and it didn't come with egg white, he'd be like, "Couldn't you get one thing right?" You know, and the guy's just absolutely dying, you know.
Mortified.
Joking, you know. Yeah, he did that all the time. But he used to do it, like, you know, if we had to take separate cabs, because we were filming like the Warrior show, I'd have all the crew and stuff, and he'd have his cab with his gear. And one time the guy got lost, and then Warrior pops out the front, the top of the cab. It's like something in a movie. And he's like, "Pull over, motherfucker." You know, again, it's all his humor. As soon as the guy left, he was like, "Don't pay him." And, like, you know, he just laughed at it. It's just a sense of humor. He loved it. It was all the tiny stuff, like, you know, like he'd send me like Swedish fish and stuff like that, because I love the candy. And he sent me a box once with empty bags and said, "Oh, sorry, Warrior Man got the munchies." And it was just like that. It's just typical best friend stuff, like he just mess with you. Like we had a hotel room with like the door in the middle, we have the adjoining suite.
Yeah.
And he came in he got in my room once and had black Warrior face paint on. And he was like, "Wake up, Sleeping Beauty," or something like that. Scared the crap out of me.
I can imagine.
And then went back in his room, and I sort of came to and knocked on the door, and he's snoring. And I'm like, "Did that happen?" And we went the whole weekend, and I didn't. What are you talking about? I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't come into your room. And then just as I left to get on the plane, he was like, "I did do that," So.
Brilliant.
And it was like the social media stuff, like when he'd have beef with Hulk and Kevin stuff, it was all like he got a good kick out of it all, you know what I mean? I think it was quite funny. He liked that character. But yeah, we had more laughs and we had more ups and downs for sure.
Good one. I'm going to show you this as well. Thoughts? Oh, you can't see it. Hang on.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so obviously I talked earlier on about the Art of Amy. So today's podcast is obviously sponsored by the Art of Amy. This is a pencil portrait of obviously the Ultimate Warrior back in the day by Amy from the Art of Amy, and we'd like to give it away in a competition today. So that's exactly what we're going to do. All you people have to do is like, subscribe, and comment Warrior. And away we go. We'll select someone at random next week, and we'll be popping this out in the post to one lucky winner. So that's from the Art of Amy. This is the Ultimate Warrior. So good luck to everybody that enters. It's good, isn't it?
That's amazing. That's actually incredible. I love it. I want to win it.
You know what to do. Yeah, people who've already subscribed, by the way, you're already in. Just like and comment, okay? Warrior. Excellent stuff. So what are you doing at the moment? Are you keeping busy at the moment?
Yeah, still doing my stuff with licensing, still doing my stuff with Honky. I'm talking to Honky about doing some different kind of show, thinking about bringing Shake, Rattle and Roll back, but on YouTube. Excellent. To do like stuff. Shoot the breeze. But yeah, we're trying to think of ways to do something really fun, because people keep asking us to do it, and it's just like, yourself, like people think that you just get on a camera and talk and that's the end of it, but it isn't. The editing and the promotion of it and the tagging and the marketing of it all, I mean, it's a lot of work. So
it's a lot more to it than just recording a video and going boom.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, people wouldn't assume that how much research you would have done before today, which you did, because I could tell by the questions you asked, and it's stuff like that. We did a good run of it, and now he's like, let's do it in video. So that's probably what we're going to do next. So I'm looking forward to that, and we're trying to get some guests and stuff on. You'll have to come on. It'd be fun. Yeah,
get me on, man. Damn right. Yeah, hook me up. I'm all over that, We'll come on and promote the pair of you. That'd be fun.
I'd love to.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, we make that happen as well. That'd be awesome. That'd be fantastic. So in closing then, any plugs, shout outs, acknowledgements you want to give?
Not really. People want to look at YouTube, find any cool Warrior stuff we did. It's there's the Ultimate Warrior official channel, and there's Legendary Unknown, which is my own channel. Got some really cool stuff on there. I think that's all we've got going at the moment.
Brilliant stuff. Hey, that's plenty. I'm sure we're on there anyway to keep people occupied.
But I just want people to keep an open mind, like read everything, watch everything, and you'll see the real person.
Brilliant stuff. Excellent. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure chatting to you, my friend. Hopefully we'll have more talks again down the line. You look after yourself. Keep fighting a good fight.
Thank you.
I'll speak to you soon. Stephen Wilton, everybody. Woohoo!